something that for many of us can be very impacting. What would you think if you knew that the polar bears is going to extinct? The population of polar bears are decreasing, but we can prevent it. Why prevent extinction?
White bears are apex predators throughout the Arctic Circle, which means they don't have any predator. They sit at the top of the food chain. Polar bears' extinction, according to conservationists, could create an imbalance in the Arctic ecosystem. For instance, if the bears become extinct, the population of ringed seals could grow to an unmanageable proportion. Scientists estimate 20,000 polar bears living today, and each year they kill 1 million ringed seals. Where they all disappear by the next, say, 50 years, the population of ringed seals is going to cross the optimal level. As it turns out, the population explosion disturbs the entire Arctic ecosystem.
Loss of local communities. Also, the polar bears adapt for cool temperatures, for moving across snow, ice, and open water, and for hunting seals, which make up most of its diet. The extinction of Arctic bears is through the disturb the indigenous people who rely heavily on polar bears for skin and meat for daily consumption. Therefore, the survival of polar bears is associated with the survival of indigenous community. If polar bears die, local people die. In some of the native tribus, the loss of polar bears is not merely a loss of a species, in fact, it is bigger than cultural demise. They speak high of bears so much so that they don't even call them polar bears.
The Ursus maritimus, or polar bear, is a hypercarnivorous bear whose native range lies largely within the Arctic Circle. It is the sister species of the brown bear. It has evolved to occupy a narrower ecological niche, with many body characteristics adapted for cold temperatures, for moving across snow, ice, and open water, and for hunting seals, which make up most of its diet. The typical lifespan of a polar bear in the wild is around 25 years, but those in captivity have proven to live almost double that number.
So, the problem is that certain subpopulation of polar bears are declining. Most polar bears are born on land, but they spend most of their time on the sea ice. Their scientific name means maritime bear and derives from this fact. Polar bears hunt, they prefer food of seals from edge of ice sea, often living off fat reserves when no ice is present. Because of their dependence of the sea ice, polar bears are classified as marine mammals. Polar bears are what is known as an indicator species, meaning that overall health of a species reflects the health of its environment. The extinction of polar bears will indicate the sea ice will disappear, therefore making the polar bears the indicator species of what is happening on the Arctic environment.
Where polar bears is struggling. There are a few factors to consider, but one of the biggest is global warming. Due to change in climate, their ice habitats are shrinking, and many of their homes are melting. The National Wildlife Federation reports that polar bears simply can't adapt to temperatures above 50 degrees.
Because of expected habitat loss caused by climate change, the polar bear is classified as vulnerable species, and at least 3 of 19 polar bears population are current decline. The latest data from the IUCN Polar Bears Specialist Group shows that just one seems to be increasing. Climate change is also resulting in more habitat fragmentation as Arctic ice melts. Polar bears are affected by increasing shipping activities and a rise in opportunities for oil and gas development. The climate change has devastating effects on the existence of polar bears. Over the past few decades, the rise in temperatures threatens the very existence of natural Arctic habitat. Sea ice disappears in warmer months, and in winter the ice could not refreeze in a way it used to be. Summers are longer than winter. Polar bears are specialized hunters. They rely heavily on range seals for their consumption. Bears hunt seals on the sea ice.
Birds depend on sea ice as a platform from which to hunt seals, rest and breed. The summer sea ice has been decreasing in size for decades and melting for longer periods of time. Birds must move longer distances to stay with the rapidly receding ice. In most areas, they come ashore when ice melts and rely on fat stores until the ice refreezes so they can go back out to hunt. Some polar bears may suffer from malnutrition. In extreme cases, especially females with cubs, they may face starvation. Traditional prey species may be less accessible in the new sea ice environment, and seals that use the ice are predicted to fare poorly in the warming Arctic region.
These graphs show us the Arctic ice extension between 1979 and 2012. As you can see, between 1979 and 2000, the ice extension in Mars started at 50.6 million square kilometers and declined to 8.8 million of square kilometers in July, which is normal for that time because it was summer. What we have to worry about is looking to one of the latest years, 2007. The ice extension for beginning of 2007 was 14.5 million square kilometers and 1.1 million of difference from years before, and it declined to 6.7 million square kilometers in July and 2.2 million kilometers less than in 2000.
This graph. This shows us the same data but with earlier information. 2012, as we already know, was the worst year for ice extension. But we can also say that we have already improved, because the ice extension between 2013 and 2016 was practically the same. We're not getting better. Also, if you can see, the rate in October and November of 2016 got low. So again, we cannot say that.
The sea ice of the Arctic is very much like the soil of the forest, where many kinds of life can grow and flourish. The polar bears may be at the top of the food chain, but it depends on the sea ice as platform to hunt, travel and find mates. If the sea ice disappears due to climate change, so does the polar bears and many other creatures that depend on this ice. The loss of multiple Arctic species could have many effects on both the environment and humans.
Consider a basic layout of the Arctic food chain as shown above. You can see that every living thing in the Arctic starts with the vegetation, that it will be algae, growing in the ice and snow. If there is no sea ice, there is no algae. Without algae, there can be no invertebrates, and if there are no invertebrates, there can be no fish, and so on and so forth, all the way up to polar bear. If no sea ice is available for this vegetation to grow in, this food chain will uncouple and the species will be lost. The significant domino effect the loss of sea ice will cause is important to help us remember that everything on Earth is interconnected and that for every action there will be a reaction.
Polar bear and human conflicts. As climate change forces polar bears to spend longer time on shore, they come in contact more often with Arctic coastal communities and others working in Arctic. Unfortunately, these interactions sometimes end badly for both humans and birds. It wasn't until much later that polar bears and humans started to have huge conflicts. As humans began moving into the territory of these animals, the fights ensued. Humans have always felt they could take over any area they wanted regardless of the natural habitat it will destroy in the process. The polar bears was willing to save and fight for their own survival. Even when they did move to other locations, they often found themselves stepping on the toes of humans in that region too.
The commercial hunting of polar bears almost drove them to extinction. The misconception was there were very powerful bears with a taste of human blood. Therefore, they were to be hunted and destroyed so they couldn't kill humans. with advanced tools and hunting techniques. These efforts were successful and at slaughtering huge numbers of them. Many avid hunting fans took part in such expeditions simply for the challenge of killing success a large animal.
Industrial impacts. In the Arctic, most industrial development was being on relatively small pieces of land. As summer sea ice retreats, a new ocean is emerging, which allows more opportunities for industrial development at sea and on a larger parcel of lands. At the same time, the retreating ice is resulting in more polar bears spending longer periods of land. Offshore petroleum installation and operations in the Arctic are expected to increase in number. This expansion will affect polar bears in their habitat in many ways, including the following. Contact with spilled oil will be fatal, and oil spills will affect the entire food chain. Oil spilled in one part of the Arctic will not remain there and will have far-ranging and devastating effects. Increased Arctic shipping represents a risk to polar bears, as traffic by barges, oil tankers, and cargo ships in Arctic waters increases. So the risk of oil spills and the human disturbance the polar bears. Humans have inadvertently affected the lives of polar bears through the pollution and global warming as well. As a result of this natural habitat continues to destroy. For example, the icy water of the Arctic region continues to melt. The waters are full of toxins and chemicals that can destroy the seals they depend on for food.
Sustainable hunting. Many Arctic areas have strong polar bear management and monitoring, but there are a few places where unsustainable hunting appears to be happening, including unreported and illegal hunting.
Solutions for saving polar bears. There may be hope for the future of the bears if we successfully lower greenhouse gas emissions. By doing this, we may prevent sea ice, which is crucial for the species from disappearing. Polar Bears International has a wealth of ideas on how you can help. For one, you can try riding a bike to work if possible. If not, opting for public transportation instead of using your car also helps. You can also vote for candidates who prioritize our planet and believe that climate change is a real pressing danger. And finally, you can donate to wildlife conservation funds.
Thank you for your attention. This was Laura Maria Alvarado and Alexandra Huertas.
Bye.